Back of the Bus Podcast coming to you with another comic book review. Today we've got Immortal X-Men number 11. Okay, variant copy. Okay.
I got a comic book subscription. I ain't saying this to Marcus because Marcus already know I get down. I'm talking to y'all. It's like, man, why you ain't got no cover of Aurora? I went in and picked this up. What I did was I have a subscription there. So this is what was in my file. Somebody pulled it, put it in my file. I went to pick up my comic books. This is what was in there. And I would have got the Aurora copy. I would have, but this is what we got. Deal with it.
It's all good, man. It's all good. Okay. So, book opens up. We are in the Quiet Council room. Rasputin and Storm are bringing the telepaths here back up from the pit, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And they are going to kind of give them a greatest hits of what transpired. But first, we're going to take them down to the dungeon for Forge to check them out and see if they can find any more traces of Sinister.
When they said Forge asked to head the recovery project, he asked?
Yeah, did we check out Forge?
Because, see, I ain't never seen Forge without his bandana on. And we know it's another Sinister out there.
Has Forge died? Maybe that's why he's clear, because I don't remember. Did Forge die yet?
Not, well, you look. I'm going to assume he perished during the Axe event, but all I'm saying is that that smile on that page, I don't like that smile. I don't like that.
He's still alive because he was helping them resurrect Captain America, if I'm not mistaken.
He's smiling.
I don't think he died yet. I don't think he's been resurrected.
He's smiling. Listen, you know they rewrite stuff all the time. They gonna be like, they gonna up and down. We missed something.
Like he died at some point and we just wasn't paying enough attention, and that's when it got in here, kind of thing.
He's teasing a little too hard. Like when she said Forge asked to head the recovery project, that's not Forge's character. Forge damn near is a recluse. He really like to be left alone.
You kind of got to ask him favors
you know. So I'm like, and you teasing off the heart. I don't see Forge smiling like that. If it pan out to be something later on, I said that in this video.
Sure. So Forge figures out in his report here on this next data page exactly how Sinister was able to implant himself or his DNA into everybody's resurrection protocol. Because, okay, listen up. This is how Sinister did it. He created a sub-dimensional loop in the DNA sample. It coils into another dimension. It's almost totally invisible. There's one base pair stitch. There's only one sign he's been missing. Needle in a haystack is easier than this. In there's a whole other genome, toxic as hell, all manner of active cytoplasmic hunter-killer watchdogs just sitting there, waiting to attack. I'm not sure you can get there and nose around, but we can just excise the loop. We remove the loop, the genetics are lost in time and space, and the genome should be all back to normal. Does that not sound like, yeah, sure, let's just wrap up the DNA to all the evil versions of ourselves, send it out to space, and hope it never comes back to bite us in the ass? If that ain't classic comic book, just forget it until it comes back next season. I don't know what it is. Oh yeah, we can't get there because it's guarded by watchdogs that will probably end up having to fight eventually anyways. But let's not take on that fight. Let's just wrap it up and throw it out into space and hope nobody finds it. So when the Sinister X-Men clones come back up in the next 2 years, remember what happened here, that they decided the best way to do it was to close off the loop and just let it be adrift out in time and space.
Yep. Remember, it was the one person who volunteered for the job.
Who suggested that too, I guess. Is Forge sending it out and just letting it sit out there so he can eventually find a way to get into it?
You know, we got a good story. We just gonna stay on track right here. We know we got Fall of X coming. So
yeah. Everybody's been checked out. They can't find any more traces of it. It being the Sinister gene. Emma starts to talk about, first things first, in order of the council, what we need to do, blah, yada, yada. Storm abruptly stops her Exodus and everybody is trying to inquire what's going on. And then Forge lets them know, well, yeah, we don't see it, but that doesn't mean it's not there. Doesn't mean it can't come back. Doesn't mean we won't revert back into those versions of ourselves. And so upon reading this the second time, I swear, the first time I read this, it was like, okay, look, y'all. Y'all could have just voted Storm Queen of Krakoa if that's what we was trying to do, like, or made it just kill Xavier and make it so that y'all can't resurrect Emma and everybody else, and that she has to be the leader. It's like it felt like we was just like clipping everybody's wings to make sure there could only be one person running this show. Now I'm reading back through it, and the logic makes a little bit more sense, right? Sinister was so intricate that the trait that was left in everybody's DNA upon resurrection was actually a trans-dimensional loop. So even when you found it, it's not like you can grab it. You know what I'm saying? It's not like you can find the source of it to shut it down. Your best bet is to try to wipe it from this husk and hope it doesn't pop up again in the next one, right? So if that's the level of uncertainty that we're dealing with, it makes sense to kind of keep everybody in a controlled situation to make sure it doesn't go south. My problem is that if we're applying this logic to these individuals, it's somebody who's been creeping around for about 3 years now, doing all kind of dirt, and no one's the wiser. I mean, no one. Absolutely no one. You know what? There may be one person. She hasn't said anything yet. We don't review X-Force, but if you read X-Force, you know who I'm talking about. She definitely seen that this man was a snake, the one I'm talking about, and hasn't said anything yet. So I'm just interested to see where that goes. But in any case, Storm tells them that it's something that they need to see, and now they're about to go through the film reel of, you know, the worst possible versions of themselves. And again, I'm struggling with this because this is a version of themselves that has never happened and will never happen. It was a version of them that was infected with the DNA of Sinister. So yes, of course, we're going to do messed up stuff. We're going to kill a lot of people. I'm the Sinister version of Xavier. I'm the Sinister version of Emma Frost. If any of these characters had the type of motivations that Sinister had, it will result in the type of destruction that you got in that timeline. It only makes sense.
Going back to what you alluded to earlier when we were, we're going to wind up reviewing that later, but she's mad at Xavier by and large for something he hadn't done. They all are.
Yeah. Like Hope and Exodus about to go through it here in a minute.
Like,
what are y'all fighting over?
It's like Theo and Marcus falling out in 2023 about an argument they were shown to have had in 2030.
Yes, yeah, that's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. And instead of focusing on how to plan not to,
right
get there, we gonna bicker about what might have been in a destroyed future. It's very odd. Now, from Storm and them's perspective, they have to make them feel it, because there's still this idea that maybe that gene could come back and kick back in, and they could become the evil version of themselves. So if that's the case, they have to feel the weight of what happened in that future to avoid it. It just feels a little bit like they're making them atone for things that they didn't do, as opposed to educating them about where to go and what decisions to make. It seems like we could be better serving our times by looking at the exact points where they turned and saying, okay, how about just don't do that? You know what I mean?
The closest I can come to it is when I was attending classes at Florida State, and I was taking African American Lit, and we came in after hours and watched Rosewood. Our teacher, Caucasian teacher, had us come in. I can tell you that class was mostly European in nature, not African American. She did that. Now, she was going back in history. You feel what I'm saying? She was showing us something that happened previously. But I'm of the mindset, to a degree, she did it to get a reaction as well, a similar reaction, to make sure that you understand, don't repeat these mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
And not necessarily for the ones who look like me in the classroom. I think it was more so for us in regards to, if you don't know about Rosewood, this is what this is. But for our classmates, it's like, here's a mirror, take a look at it. How do you not repeat this?
Sure. Agreed. I mean, I see the logic behind it. It's like, we don't know where these characters are emotionally. We don't know what could be hiding underneath all these layers, right? We don't know.
Right.
We can't be certain. And so the only way to be sure is to make sure that their minds are solid. And then if that's how we get to it, it's just how the characters are reacting to it. It doesn't necessarily feel accurate, but then again, we're talking about fiction, so accurate is what you want it to be to a certain degree. Mm-hmm. So basically, Destiny has to come clean about all of her back and forths in that timeline, right? And so honestly, Destiny is the only one that really reflects how I think about it, right? Is that basically, yeah, I lied to you initially about the farm because, that's the only place where... Did she actually say because of Mystique? I don't know if she alludes to it, but I don't know if she says it.
But she doesn't. She's not telling them. It's basically, she's like, I did this. It's like she's basically saying, it's not you I'm trying to hide the truth from.
Yeah,
and that's
yeah.
So she alludes to the fact that she's basically trying to hide the truth from Mystique. Of course, we know that ain't last long.
Right. And then also, right, the fact that, like, I can't lie to you because when y'all destroyed that timeline, it messed up all the probabilities again. Right? Like, I have no clue what we're looking at now because that entire 1,000 years has now been erased. So, like, I have no clue where we at with it. And I initially took that one. There were two scenarios. One of them was the Red Diamond saga with Sinister, where we would be able to reset this timeline and eventually get back. Storm mentions it to her too. She says, "You're hiding the truth behind the truth. There's something else, isn't there? You say that there are multiple timelines where Sinister could have fallen. You chose this one. Why did you keep that timeline running?" She says, "This meeting ends now." So obviously she is hiding something. Maybe she is hiding the fact, I think, that she only was keeping the timelines going because of Mystique. Because, I mean, that's a hell of a thing to admit to everybody. I think on a human level, we could all identify with it. But telling a nation of people that you're making decisions on their futures, their children's futures, their grandchildren's futures, based off of your loved one living or dying, that's not going to play too well. So I do think that's the secret. But they're interrupted because Hope and Exodus are fighting.
Getting it in.
But again, why are we doing this? Why are you fighting this man for a future that has not happened?
She is mad at your boy. She's 38 hot at your boy.
Why are you beating this man up? Because in a future that has now been erased, he worshipped you to the point where he turned himself into a mother mold and spread your doctrine all over the universe. He, again, sycophant, definitely obsessed, but it didn't happen. Didn't happen. Right? Like, you had the chance now to correct those things, and maybe, in fairness, that's Hope's way of correcting it, is getting as far away from Exodus as she possibly can. But I don't know, man. The fight itself seems a little nonsensical. She calls him a Judas.
It's almost like
what?
It's almost like you don't have any adults on the island that know how to resolve conflict.
Yeah.
You and I are sitting here right now, and we're able to rationalize. Man, that'd be kind of crazy for us to be fighting about something that happened 5 years from now, and it ain't happened yet.
And it ain't happened yet, and it's not going to happen because now you know about it. It's not going to play out that way at all.
Look, we can't enjoy the time we got together right now. Like, so it's really is much ado about nothing. Like I said, they're definitely trying to drive a plot home. I think to a degree, by and large, they know they have a schedule to attend to. you have to keep on some schedule to get to the fall of X. And maybe you didn't really think about how you was going to get to the fall of X.
Yeah.
You know,
we kind of put in the microwave oven on some of these relationships and some of these conflicts.
Right.
There's that line that you mentioned, right? It is not you, meaning Destiny talking to Aurora, that I'm trying to hide the truth from. Cut over to Mystique in their home. Out of the shadows comes Mother Perilous. Mystique slams her to the ground. She wants to give Mystique a USB drive with a recording or just a recorder. You ever notice how much like actual like physical tape recorders pop up in comic books? I don't think I ever really see them. Most reporters now even record off of their phone, not have an actual tape recorder, but they pop up all the time in damn comic books.
Well, you know, one of the other things they were doing, like, and I really want to say it was shortly after John Byrne did his stint on X-Men, everybody was telepathically linked. Like there was no more asking. I guess somebody was like, "Hey man, when super teams go out and fight, how do they know what the other person doing?"
Talking, yeah.
So you started seeing, you know, Jean Grey was linking everybody up. And then when you had the other superhero costume and there was no telepath on the team, they made sure to say, "Hey, I got you on comms," and you see them touch their ear like this.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, it's one of those things where I guess, you know, hey, you're a mutant, but you still have needed technology. Like you don't Krakoa, but you know, Krakoa can't get you no tape recorder.
So on the tape recorder is the message that Destiny sent back to Sinister in that 1,000-year timeline, basically telling them, "Hey, I'll help you. You know, come mess with me." Yada yada yada. She says, "Hello, Nathaniel. I stole your lab with Storm, Stellaris, and the Akri. If you are listening to this, they'll have hidden it again when I tried to reset the universe." That's when, you know, Corda Bernhardt gave her that, you know what I'm saying, right through her cranium.
Right.
This will be because Raven is dead. And if Raven is dead, oh God, I hate myself. She would hate me for this. Basically, it is explaining that the only reason why now that she was even sending that message back to Sinister to try and help him through all of this is because working with him is the only chance that she has to save Mystique. And that is not her focus. It is not what best suits Krakoa or Arakko. It is not what best suits the dream of mutant ascension. It is, how do I keep my wife alive the longest? And she made it to about what, 600-700 years?
Yeah, but what
in that past timeline?
He said this will be because Raven is dead, and if Raven is dead, oh God, I hate myself. She would hate me for this. So it's one of those things where I think you and I alluded to before is, are Raven and are they gonna fall out?
When she finds out that all of that they I don't think Mystique necessarily knows about the particulars of what happened in the future timeline.
Right.
Because she only showed that to the Quiet Council, and, you know, it stayed there. And maybe Forge and Rasputin, obviously, who lived it. But when she finds out that Destiny was the catalyst for all of that, and the reason was to keep her alive, I don't think that's going to go well.
Right.
I think knowing that Irene is willing to go to those lengths, she's willing to use her powers and lie even to Mystique to keep her. The type of person Mystique is she's not a caged bird.
No,
you know what I mean? Mystique is a free person who chooses to be with Irene. But now if Irene is pulling the strings behind the scenes to try to keep a hold of her, even if it's to keep her from dying, I don't think that's a situation that sits well. I mean, naturally, we watched it play out in the Sins of Sinister. She was trying to pull these strings all along to make sure that her and Raven could live a life. And what did Raven do? Raven got up and said, "We not hiding, and I'm about to go join them rebels." And that's how it played out.
That's always who she's been. She made her debut as a member of the, not just a member, a leader of the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. So she's always been about, at the end of the day, regardless of how you want to slice it and dice it, Raven has always been about mutants coming out on top.
Yeah.
The eternal existence of mutants. So anything that's done that's going to harm that, regardless of whether it was her or not. No, I'm not seeing her feel it because she's gonna see it as being totally selfish. I'm thinking that's gonna be a problem, but you know, we're gonna, like I said, we're gonna see how it play out. My concern, the more we get into this, the more we're seeing a directive. And when you have a directive, it messes with the story as far as I'm concerned, because it's not naturally evolving anymore. You know, so you know, we talked about that to a degree with how Aurora's conducting herself now, you know, in regards to the characters, holding themselves accountable for something that hasn't taken place. The narrative that they seem like they want to tell with Charles Xavier, it just seems like this the road we gonna take. Mm-hmm. Whether it makes sense or not, this the direction we going to get to the ending.
So the fight ensues with Hope and Exodus. Storm attempts to kind of blast them apart and stop them. She's able to lay into them a little bit more than usual because we're talking about Hope Summers and Exodus. Now, the next couple of pages to me is very interesting. Storm gets through to Hope and says, "Hey, you are the leader of the Five. You're a beacon of hope for Krakoa. Look at all the people down there looking at you fight. Why would you do this?" Hope gets concerned. Oh my God, what? Crap. Why would I do that? And proceeds to whoop the shit out of Exodus. I mean, dog him. I'm sorry. Did it get better? Oh, it was only bad that you were putting up a fight with Exodus? That you was at a stalemate? That was the part that was unseemly? Not dog walking him? Oh my God.
You don't put hands on him. Don't put hands on him in front of everybody.
Yeah, I guess it was just, hey, let's go to a quiet place so I can whoop his ass real quick.
That's literally what that was. They went to a quiet place and she whooped his ass real quick.
It just is, the dynamic is very weird. It's like, okay, I will do things for all of these people that are watching me and worshiping me as a deity. But the person driving the wagon, yeah, no, I got to beat the shit out of him and tell him to stay away from me. But I'll continue to take all of this, you know, the Five and being the leader of the Five and taking all of that. They're fine. I won't get up and fly up and tell all of them, hey, yo, I'm not a deity. I'm not no God. I'm not no Messiah. Stop talking to me like that. What I'm going to do is my most hardened supporter, I'm going to beat the shit out of him and make an example out of him, maybe. I don't know.
That's what Nick Saban would do. I ain't better than Hope. Do what you got to
do. Stay away. I'm not your Messiah. You're not a church. Okay. Like, we could have had Hope in this crybaby face with Aurora and her being so concerned without that whole middle section with Exodus. But whatever. We're here. We are here. Here is the conversation that you alluded to in our review of X-Men Red, as Charles is bidding Storm adieu as she's getting ready to take the gate with Lotus Lagos back to Arakko. Storm asks him, you don't want to talk about Max? Xavier responds, I learned my worst fears about my capacity were hopelessly naive. I cannot handle talking about the death of my oldest friend yet. Storm mentions that she has the instinct to reach out to him and comfort him, which is what I thought the whole point of the conversation with Eric in his dying days was. But then, you know, Xavier going Xavier, at least in this storyline, and he's being a prick, so he doesn't get it, right? Doesn't get the arm around his shoulder. Now, here's where the balancing of the story starts to happen in these last couple of pages, right? Emma brings up, I think, a very valid point. It's like, all right, you walking around here doing all this dick swinging and all this finger wagging, but for you to be the only one that didn't have the Sinister gene, the only one that wasn't resurrected that sat on this circle, it was surely a whole bunch of shit going around here that you didn't sniff out. You was the only one. You was the only one that possibly could have stopped it. And then as I was watching that timeline that you trying to make us watch and atone for and take responsibility for, I see you sleep. I see you splitting time between Arakko and Krakoa, and that allowed us to fester down here to a point where you couldn't do nothing but run off and create a rebellion. You couldn't stop it at the root because you were splitting time. Right? Like, if we gotta own these future wrongs that will never come to pass now, but if we gotta atone for them, then you got to atone for that. Fair or unfair?
Very fair. Because she said you chilled for 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
That's 5 times 305. So
like, fam, that's a lot of days.
Yeah.
A lot of days to kick back, you know what I'm saying? And by the time you realize that it was too late. This is a callback to, like, I want to say a Marauders book when this relationship first got established between Sebastian Shaw and Mother Righteous. Shaw's been playing the long game. Like, he's been a very quiet character since he tried to kill Kitty Pryde in the beginning. But since they clipped his wings and let what's that little dragon's name? Lockheed, yeah. Let him pick out his eye or whatever, and they turned him into a cripple for a little bit. It was pretty messed up. But he's come back around and he's kind of stayed by this time, and he stayed quiet because he knows he's still under the thumb of Emma and Storm for the time being. But he made this deal with Mother Righteous a while ago, right? So Mother Righteous has really been laying the groundwork for a long time. He's seeing, the cracks in Krakoa in as a sign that everything's going to topple, and he just wants the money. Very, very simple motivation for this character. He wants to be able to take advantage of the pitfall when it does. So that's his angle there with Mother Righteous. Storm starts to come to the conclusion that she can't split time between Arakko and Krakoa, and that in doing so, she's leaving them open to some slippage or some oversight. At the same time, she doesn't want to quit either council because that would be leaving them worse off than what they currently are. So she comes up with a bright idea to find an emissary of sorts in Krakoa. And who does she choose? But the most trustworthy individual in all of Krakoa, Pitor Rasputin, Mr. Colossus, the ultimate secret agent. And has been, man, they pop up every now and again in some X-Men books and X-Force, and I don't know what the hell's going on with his brother anymore, Mikhail. I don't know what's going on with him and that cerebral sword that he had. I don't know. He just been chilling. I don't know what's going on. He was supposed to be, teaming up with Dracula, and they were going to have this big battle with Krakoa. That was a Wolverine arc. That was supposed to be going to something. I don't know what his role is, but he keep popping up into stuff. First of all, he got on the council. He's slowly been working his way up. So whatever this fall of X is going to be, expect Pitor to be square smack dab in the middle of it. Now here's why it shouldn't happen though. Domino recently went through a mind refresh. She had some barriers broken down where she got her memories brought back from her pre-resurrection days. She seems to remember telling Pitor to give her all her memories and to keep them, if you're keeping up with X-Force. Well, as we read it in the book, she told him, no, I don't want any of these memories. I don't want the pain or the memory of the pain of being experimented on by Zeno and the dude with the peacock tattoo, right? I don't want to remember that. That's how it read. But what she really said was, I want to know. So when she gets the brain flush and she remembers all of that, she shouldn't go ask some questions of Pitor. Why you wipe my memory, bro? Why you take my memory away? I seem to remember asking you specifically to make sure I kept the pain. Why you wipe my memory, man? What's going on with you, brother?
I got more questions. Well, just not questions. I'm gonna say observation. To have so many mutants on one island, they seem to be a whole lot less effective than they were when they lived in the brownstone.
I think the amount of people and the things that they got going on and fighting wars on multiple fronts, they got a lot. They just had to put the Quiet Council in the pit. Beast out here running wild. He running rogue. They got a lot going on.
Here's the thing. Right, they got a lot going on. It's crazy that Peter is under psychic control, and with all them telepaths on the island, don't nobody know.
Nobody caught it. No.
And it's not a matter of being, to me, it's not even a matter of being able to read his mind. He's been acting different. Ain't nobody saying.
His girlfriend, like 10 issues ago in X-Force, no one's even asked about her. I think Domino asked about her like one time, and it hasn't come up again. He killed her and buried her out behind the house, and nobody's asked about her again.
I'm like, man, are y'all serious right now? Like, that's crazy. So to me, it's like, what made the X-Men comic book so special back in the day? They all knew each other. Peter was in love with Kitty Pryde, regardless of how awkward that seemed. Logan and Scott had a rival for no reason. Scott and Jean were in love.
No, they had a rivalry for a reason, and her name was Jean Grey.
Right. He would always say, "I love you, Jean," and she would like, I you, Scott, with all my heart. She would never say, "I love you too." She would always say, "With all my heart." I was like,
that's because "I love you" is for Logan. And you too, with all my heart, that's for Scott.
Right. You know, and we like, even with how they did Emma and Banshee, they was in a whole ass relationship back then when not Legion, but Proteus, her son, was born, and he was giving Wolverine all kind of fits. It's like they were close. Now they just, you know what it is? It's like the X-Men don't have personal relationships anymore. Everything's professional.
They got to be. They running the country. They running the nation. They got to be diplomats. They have to be statesmen now.
Hey, look, Kirby,
you're right. That lost context is where you would pick up on some of this, some of the inconsistencies with Rasputin, with Colossus. And since you don't have that element anymore, that family element, some things are going to the wayside. I think that's part of the reason why Beast was able to run amok as much as he did on the island, because ain't nobody checking in on him. They're only looking at it from a business strategic type of standpoint.
Imagine what that would have been like if Hank was doing some stuff. And honestly, there's a lot to be said for Beast further evolution into that of a beast, and him not really being around humans anymore. Being around mutants, that's his kind. But there's a lot to be said about that human element that's missing, because when he was around the Avengers, when he was around the champions, he was a fun-loving dude. He was smart. He's still a fun-loving guy. You're not getting that now.
Agreed. No. This is definitely Dark Beast. We've fully kind of dipped into that version of the character. So that's it for issue number 11. We got issue number 12 in Colossus We Trust coming up next. Any parting thoughts on issue 11, Theo?
Let's get there. Let's go ahead and get there. Let's get there. Don't draw it out no more. Let's get there. But I know you got to draw it out because we're not there yet. But let's get there. Let's get there.
Agreed. Give us your thoughts on the book in the comments below. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Come back next week for some more comic book reviews.